Welcome to the world of flex sanders and Superflex sandpaper. What we're about to show you will change the way you do auto body repair and save you time and money in the process. Flex sanders are designed by a bodyman for bodymen. So get ready to think outside the box and take a look at the last set of sanding blocks you'll ever have to buy. Hi, I'm Kevin Tates, and I've been in the world of auto body repair my whole life. And I've been teaching people how to do body shop repairs for a long time as well. And we're about to show you why you're going to realize that flex sanders are the last set of sanding blocks you're ever going to have to buy, and why you're going to fall in love with the Superflex sandpaper and everything you see here as a system. Now, the flex sanders and the Superflex adhesive paper are designed to work together as a system. As a matter of fact, the 5, 8, and 11-inch block kits come with the pack of both the cloth and the wet or dry paper in the kit itself. Or you can get individual rolls of the cloth or wet or dry paper. Just like the longer boards, they're available individually from your local WURTH rep. You can get your details from them. But for now, we're going to show you how you can save time and make money with these tools. Now, the traditional way of applying PSA or sticky back paper to a sanding block is to lay the block down and apply your paper to the block itself. And that's fine, except for when you want to contour that block, and that happens. With the revolutionary flex sanders, you start with your sandpaper grit side to the panel. Then you take your sanding block and apply it to the adhesive of the sandpaper itself. And what you pull back is an exact representation of the contour of the panel that you're trying to block, with no wrinkles. Down the side, you can see that there's 6 different blocks, 6 different colors, and 3 different densities: soft, medium, and firm. And each one has its own individual work surface, and they're malleable and pliable with a memory position. But they're not styrofoam. It's a polyethylene foam, which gives it its flexibility, but it's impervious to lacquer thinner and acetone. This is lacquer thinner in this cup, and you can clearly see it's not moving the surface. Now, this is styrofoam. And you can see what happens to that. These are not styrofoam. Using the technique of laying the paper on the panel and applying the flex sander to the adhesive, you can mimic the complex curve of this import fender, and it even retains the twist. But the magic happens when you travel on the panel and apply even pressure. The sander conforms to the shape of the panel easily. No more chasing a brick over a curved surface. It doesn't matter what shape you're working with, there's a flex sander that's going to match that shape. Areas like this VW hood recess can be precisely blocked. By short sheeting the block, you can sneak up on the edges and valleys without bridging over style lines and creases, actually bumping the soft edge of the block against the area that you don't want to sand. These heat extractor vents could easily be cowl vents on a vintage muscle car, and used to be some of the hardest places on any car to sand and prep. Since the flex sanders conform easily, these vents are effortless to prep. With the red sander, you can just use the finger and sand both edges at once. Flat panels are simple, with several block options. And you no longer have to push a heavy plastic or wood block across your panel. This is especially important on some of today's aluminum hoods and light gauge sheet metal. Plus, there's less mass to push, and you don't have to work as hard. Now, with the sander like this, with one piece of paper on one side of the block, It still retains a little bit of flexibility, which is nice because not every panel is like a refrigerator. A lot of them have contours in. However, if you want a lot of rigidity with a lightweight block, there's a couple different ways to do it. In the first place, you can take your block, roll the paper on so you don't have any sharp edges, and it really stiffens it up from the side profile. Now if you've got a narrow strip to block, this is perfect. However, if you're blocking a wide panel like this hood, there's another way to do it. Set the block on the paper and come back with the second sheet. It's important to roll the corners on too, so you don't create sharp edges. Now, you've got a lot of rigidity, a second piece of sandpaper to work against in case your other one loads, and you've got the versatility of all the different corners and edges on this board. Still one more way to do it, a little easier on the fingertips as well. Just some masking tape on the opposing side from the grit side really gives it rigidity and gives you a nice handheld surface that's not going to wear your fingerprints off. Louvers are a pain, no question, both to prep for paint as well as to color sand. The shape of the yellow block conforms perfectly. Using the purple oval, you can see the versatility and the advantage of the flex sanders here. Just match the shape of the block to the panel, press the block onto the paper in the correct position. Then transfer both back to the panel and block, knowing that you're not dragging grooves into this wheel flare. Using flex sanders can be as simple as matching the shape of the block to the shape of the panel. Every surface of every block is a work surface, but you can utilize the shapes as handles. And the rolled edge of the orange block matches many style lines and coves, allowing you to block up into the style line without destroying the profile. Now this is a competitor's conventional PSA paper on a flex sander. It doesn't have to be a flex sander, just happens to be. Let's see what happens when it goes underwater. And it's done. No. Now the adhesive is shot. You can feel the grit degrading. The dye's coming off. It just flat out doesn't work. Not at all. The adhesive on all the Superflex paper is waterproof. And not only waterproof, but reusable over and over again. Just watch. Using a single sheet of 1000 grit wet or dry Superflex, I'm going to interchange several blocks. Each time I remove the paper, it's stuck well to the surface of the block, but still easy to remove, leaving no residue or adhesive behind. Notice also that the grit of the paper won't separate, and the adhesive doesn't care if it's wet or dry. It still sticks. Those of you that like to wet sand, you know how much longer wet paper lasts simply because you can unload it easily. Well, now you can get the benefit of PSA paper with your wet paper and stick it to any of the flex sanders or all of the flex sanders. This is no parlor trick, folks. This is a game changer. Now, I've used the same piece of sandpaper, changing it around, mucking about with 3 different blocks. And check this out. The adhesive is still valid. The block is really clean. You gotta love that. What this means is that this piece of sandpaper will outlast everything else on the market, big time. A less extreme example of wet sanding uses the purple oval block, which conforms to many different coves and concave surfaces, and allows you to roll the block, maintaining a crosshatch pattern. Color sanding can make or break a paint job, and the ability to block with shapes that match the panel can mean the difference between burning through edges and a successful rub-out. The ability to use multiple work surfaces of the flex sanders is obvious here. A slight tilt of the block and you're easily blocking a very difficult area to sand with any other block. Now, these pieces have nothing to do with automotive bodywork, but they will allow me to show you how adaptable the flex sanders are and how to maximize their usefulness. This Queen Anne leg is full of complex shapes, and it just shows you that you can maintain a flat contact patch with the flexibility of the sander. Take the other shape. Every shape is designed to be a sanding area. It looks like it doesn't fit, but you put a little pressure on it and you get a contact patch. Drag it around, a little bit more pressure, and it makes a perfect 90. And you can sand that area. Now, you might be saying that without any sandpaper on there, yes, of course, the block is soft, it's flexible, it's going to contour. Once you put paper on there, it's going to stiffen it up and you're not going to have that flexibility. Well, that's true if you take all the adhesive backing off. But if you use this technique, which is basically scoring the backing with the razor blade, splitting it, and then applying the paper, leaving the backing on it. Then what you want to do is loosen it up just a little bit. Since it won't create hard edges by moving it or crumpling it, you can knead it a little bit, soften it up so it gets a little bit more contour, a little bit more flexibility, where you can then put it up into that crevice. Now, since the sandpaper is literally floating on the slippery backing paper or release paper, you can go from a complex curve right into a straight 90 and still maintain that solid contact patch. So, are you ever going to come across this shape doing bodywork? Well, the answer is yes. The rear body panel between the bumper and the taillight panel of a Tri-5 Chevy, well, it looks just like this underneath the taillights. So, typically what you do is get in there. This is how you typically sand this inside area. But look what happens. Right here, you can see my fingertips there. And right here, that is going to put a ridiculous scratch in your primer surfacer or your top coat. If you're color sanding, it's going to be impossible to buff out. You're going to get yourself in trouble using this technique, but not with a flex sander. You can see the contact patch that you're making. It's contouring to the inside, and it's perfectly even. You pull your sandpaper out and you can see that it transfers. There's no dimpling, there's no puckers here, and what you've got is a representation of the sanding job that you did in here. Now this might seem like a nice little handle or a way to grip the block, and it is. However, remember that every single surface of these blocks is designed to be a work surface. Knead it a little bit, give it a little bit of flexibility, and you can work it down into the channel, flip it over, give it a bit of a pinch, and you've got that perfect gully, that perfect channel right there. If you've got a tight area to sand that's this wide, but you want a flat surface, if you're on a frame rail or between two panels, you can make these blocks work for you as well, even though it's got a gully here. What you're going to do is press the block to the paper, and you're going to roll it over and give it some pressure down. While you're still maintaining pressure, lift your paper up and attach it to the side. And you can see what it's done. You've maintained a flat area here, and the best thing, when you pull the paper off, it goes exactly the way it came. Now this block has 4 radiuses molded in, but if you don't see what you want, well, these are all malleable. You can manipulate them and change them, and you can make what you want if you don't see it right away. Here's what I mean. Now you've got a contour here. This is a cool trick. So you've got a really tight crevice to get down into. What you can do is pinch it off, and you've essentially got a blade. You get down underneath things, you can use it as a sanding surface. And the quality of the sandpaper, the grit, is not going to disappear off of here. Let me show you. Right here. You can literally use it like a hacksaw blade. Not only that, but it contours around. It literally maps the surface. Now, conventional sandpaper took it apart. Not only would the adhesive be shot, but all your grit would be gone from that peaked edge. I'm just rubbing that off, and I can use this piece on a flat piece of the block anywhere else. None of the grit is gone. That is a superior piece of sanding paper. Now with your conventional sandpaper, when you try and manipulate it, it's very obvious what happens. The edges raise and is separating from the backing paper, and these edges will transfer into your project. It's even more obvious with your heavy grits. That's one bend. That's not even rolling it around. You can see what happens. It's separating, it's going bald, and that is going to map into your expensive project. The Superflex paper, it just doesn't happen like that. It's got a smooth contour, and you can manipulate it over and over again. And it still looks exactly like it did when it came off the roll. Now what that means on your sanding boards is this. You can see what kind of damage that's going to do to your panel, and it just flat out gets expensive and wastes your time. We hope you've enjoyed seeing what Flex Sanders and Superflex paper could do for you. These demos just scratch the surface of the ways that you can improve your efficiency and quality. So get creative and see for yourself how these revolutionary new tools can make you money. For more information or for product availability, contact your local WURTH rep.